I just put the finishing touches on it. I slaved all night making meals for 20 people in our neighborhood, and then Amaris from my mother-in-law's side just dumped trash all over it. I have known Amaris doesn't like me because of the bullying, but this was just too much. I'm so sad I can't even find the words. Well, you see, this is why you're wrong, spending time and effort on stuff like this instead of focusing on our home. Amaris looked at me with a sad expression and sneered in triumph. Watching Amaris laugh made my sadness fade, and slowly anger started to boil inside me.
Hey, is everything ready?
Then Neve, from my father-in-law's side, came along. When Amaris realized who would be eating the food she had ruined, her face went pale. I'm 28 and I work in an office at a small factory in town. I live in a modestly priced apartment a bit away from the city, about an hour and a half by train, because the salary from the small factory I work at isn't that high and life is tough, so I need to save money. Life is difficult, and honestly, I can't say it's been a very good one. Additionally, since there are many men in my workplace, my personality has become more masculine over time. With this kind of personality, it's hard to expect any romantic encounters. But it seems like fate had something in store for me. I met a guy at my favorite local bar. He was alone too, and before we knew it, we were chatting with the bartender. The three of us deepened conversation. We kept bumping into each other at the bar, and eventually we started dating. Then he proposed. I used to think there was no such thing as luck or God, but now I feel like I owe an apology to the heavens. The problem is, I don't have much savings. Also, my husband Bride enjoys going out with friends and often treats them, so he hasn't saved much either. But he's not reckless with money. He values relationships more than anything and knows how to spend wisely. I agree that treating friends and acquaintances is important, not a bad thing. Therefore, he now understands the need to save money for our marriage and also has proposed saving for our wedding fund. His proposal is for us to live with our parents in the family home. If I move in with them, we won't have to pay rent, which means more savings. His parents' place is further away in the countryside, about an hour and a half from town, but Bride drives to work, so commuting isn't an issue. I'll just take my time on the train and bus coming back. But living with the in-laws before we are even married, does this mean we are practically married? Ideally, we should live separately and save up slowly, but at 28, I want to get married sooner rather than later, so I decided to take the plunge and move in before the wedding. I was nervous, but Neve and Amaris welcomed me warmly. Bride's caring nature must come from his parents. They were especially kind to me, somewhat soon-to-be family. But it turns out my impression of Amaris was wrong. After a while, Amaris started to get harsher with me. You're late. What were you dragging your feet for? Sorry, I got held up at work. Excuses. Just get dinner started. Yes, I'm sorry. I'll start right away. Coming home tired from work, Amaris would insist I cook dinner. Neve works too, but as a housekeeper, Amaris is home all day. It would be nice if she cooked on the days I'm late. Really? Since you're living here for free, at least you could do is help around the house. I can't argue with that, but it's not just cooking, it's cleaning and laundry too, and she makes me redo everything if she finds the slightest fault. Is this just bullying? Amaris is nice to me when Bride or Neve are around. Maybe it's a rural tradition or custom, perhaps Amar went through something similar. I also don't want to complain to Bride or Neve and have them think I can't handle it, so I decided to endure Amar's bullying. Then one day, as I passed through the kitchen, Amaris, thinking she was alone, muttered to herself, "Again, making something like this? Is she trying to earn some goodwill?" I heard Amaris muttering to herself in the kitchen and quietly backed away without her noticing. It was clear now, Amaris wasn't being tough to teach me the ways of a daughter-in-law, it was just harassment. She had been looking at the muffins I made to give to our neighbors. Living in the countryside where there aren't many young people like Bride and me, everyone's been really kind, especially since there are a few young women around. I've been treated very well, so as a thank you, I often bake treats and cook dishes to share. Apparently, Amaris was bothered by this. I later learned she also came from outside the area and used to be the center of attention, much like I am now. Seeing me getting the same treatment from Bride, Neve, and the neighbors must have felt like losing her privileged status. It was just envy. Maybe having someone weaker than herself in the house made her feel more important? Even though I knew it was bullying, I didn't want to seem weak, so I kept enduring without changing my approach. But Amara's bullying escalated, taking advantage of my lack of resistance and Bride being busy with festival preparations and coming home late. Recently, she dropped my clothes on the ground from the laundry line and scattered trash at the entrance, claiming my cleaning was insufficient. I've been putting up with her harassment, but increasing my workload is just too much. I was thinking about confronting Amaris when Neve approached me kindly.
You have been here for a while now. How are things going with Amaris?
It was fine at first, but recently it's been a bit tough.
Should I talk to Amaris about it?
No, it's okay. I can handle this much without showing weakness.
Don't push yourself too hard. If anything comes up, let me know right away.
It seemed like Neve had guessed that I was being bullied by Amaris, but since I didn't ask for help, he respected my wishes and didn't delve deeper. Nor did he tell Bride or confront Amaris. However, Amaris never believed me when Neve or Bride were around, so Neve started coming home earlier to prevent me from being harassed. He didn't interfere, just silently stood by me like a protective wall. It was incredibly reassuring to have him around. The sense of security I feel when Neve is at home is immeasurable. Not only have I received support within the home, but I've also been helped with matters outside of it. I got along with the neighbors thanks to his introduction. Like Bride, he values connections with others, so he's happy to see me getting along with everyone.
The neighbor said she loved those sweets you made.
I'm glad they enjoyed them. The sweets and dishes I've been distributing as a thank you for the kindness I've received seem to be well liked, and everyone has been happy with them. It's always a pleasure to be complimented on my cooking skills.
Oh, by the way, Brad asked me to pass on a message.
What is it? This request from Bride would become the turning point in my relationship with Amaris. One Sunday night, after finishing all my chores to avoid Amaris complaints, I started preparing a meal for everyone. I planned to make enough for 20 people, including potato salad, steak, chicken, and pizza. To prepare for the next day, I did all the work at night so I could cook everything in the morning. However, making enough for 20 people was a first for me, and it took longer than expected, almost an all-nighter. I was so focused that I didn't realize Amaris was watching me cook later into the night. If I had noticed her, maybe I could have avoided the disaster that followed. The next morning, after just an hour of rest, I finished all the dishes and packed them individually. I managed to finish right on time, though it was a close call. Looking at the boxes of food, 4 rows of 5, I felt proud of myself. It was tough staying up all night, but the thought of everyone's happy faces made it all worthwhile. While I was feeling satisfied with my work, a courier arrived and I went to the door. In that brief moment, Amaris entered the kitchen. When I returned, I saw Amaris had laid out 20 boxes of food. Moreover, all the box lids were opened. What are you doing, Amaris? Oh, I thought I'd help with the finishing touches. What? I had a bad feeling about her words. Sure enough, Amaris began dumping garbage on the food. How could you do this to the food? I was shocked that the dishes I had worked on all night, imagining the happy faces of everyone, were ruined in an instant. I just put the finishing touches on it. Now it's complete. Why don't you bring them to the neighbors? Nobody can eat this now. I couldn't say more without bursting into tears, so I just stood there sadly staring at the food ruined by garbage. This is what you get for wasting time and effort on such things. You should have spent that time on housework instead. Seeing my sad face, Amaris sneered triumphantly. I knew she didn't like me, but this was just too cruel. Watching Amaris laugh, my sadness slowly turned into anger.
Hey, is everything ready?
That's when Neve walked in.
What's this? Did this happen because...
The finished dishes were supposed to be taken by Neve, but now look at this mess. How am I supposed to apologize to Neve, Bride, and everyone else? Look at this. She spent so much time and money on food for others. What was she thinking? That's why I had to punish her.
I see. So it was you who did this?
Yes, now she'll learn to spend her time and effort on our home. Every word from Amaris fueled my anger more. Usually, I just gave food away on my own, but this time people were actually looking forward to it. This was supposed to go to Bride's place. Bride? Where is he today?
Right. This was for the festival gathering everyone's attending.
What?
Her cooking is so popular in the neighborhood that everyone wanted to try it. Bride's been bragging about it too. That's why we asked her to make these dishes for today's gathering.
This dish? In the region where my in-laws live, the festival is taken very seriously. As the festival season approaches, the men gather daily after work. It seems like they just drink and enjoy meals together, but it's an important tradition. I don't fully understand, but it's like a custom or unwritten rule perhaps? Since today is Sunday and they gather early, Neve, who's retired from festival duties, was going to take the food to everyone. Amaris turned pale when she realized who the food was for. Bride, a county-raised festival man, hates anything that's not straightforward, so do Neve and the others at the gathering. Amaris had wasted the food meant for such people. Wasting food, bullying me, embarrassing Bright, and denying everyone the meal they were looking forward to? Amir's actions were a parade of unacceptable behaviors. I couldn't imagine the men, especially Bright, being anything but furious. Watching Amir's panic, I even wondered if she might end up having to leave the community. Everyone was looking forward to this meal, you know? I didn't know it was for the gathering. If this wasn't meant for the gathering, would it be okay to make it all garbage? With this, no one could eat it anymore. I was more upset about disappointing everyone than my wasted efforts. While Amaris and I were talking, Neve pulled out his phone.
Hey, come back now. I know you're with everyone. This is important. I have just called Bride back. Let's explain everything.
Oh, wait, please, don't do that. I can make another batch of food. Neve planned to tell Bride everything from Amaris wasting the food to the bullying. I had wanted the bullying to stay between us, so Neve had been just watching over me without interfering, but now the situation has escalated to a point where he couldn't overlook it anymore. If Bright learns this, it would likely spread to the men at the festival and eventually through the community. Amaris could become an outcast. Realizing the severity of the situation, Amaris began to panic, fearing her life as she knew it might be over. But her panic was too late. About 10 minutes later, Bright hurried home after receiving Neve's call. He was shocked to see the food covered in garbage in the kitchen.
What's going on? Why is the food like this? She did this.
With just one sentence from Neve, Bright grasped the general situation. He was also informed that Amaris had ruined my cooking, pushing her panic to a peak. I didn't know it was for the gathering.
That's not the point here.
Amaris, clearly in distress, repeated the same excuse to Bright. Her behavior was almost comical, yet her expression was clearly filled with fear. Right, I mean, it's not, I mean...
Dad, what's going on?
Unable to speak, Amaris left Bright frustrated and seeking an explanation from Neve.
You've been coming home late recently, so you might not have noticed, but she's been bullying her. She even begged me not to tell you, crying just a while ago.
I haven't been bullying her. There was just a moment of weakness.
Stop making excuses. I know what's been happening. I didn't say anything before because I was asked not to. But I can't stand it anymore. You have been bullying her.
Neve shouted at Amaris, trying to make an excuse. His intensity was so strong that even I, who wasn't being scolded, was intimidated. Neve is usually kind, but I never imagined he would be this angry. Maybe all the festival men are like this? Thinking about Amaris' future is a bit frightening.
Is this true? What Dad's saying?
Yes, I'm sorry. I kept silent. I thought I had to endure it.
Seems like it's true.
Bright didn't shout like Neve, but his quiet anger was palpable. It was a different kind of intensity. Bright silently glared at Amaris, a silent demand for her to explain herself. It really wasn't bullying. I was just, teaching her about housework. Maybe it was too harsh. I'll be more careful from now on. What were you trying to teach me by dirtying my clothes and scattering trash at the entrance for me to clean?
You did that too? Unbelievable. Mom, what were you trying to teach her?
Well, a little hardship is good, right? You know young people these days give up so easily. I was just testing her to see if she could handle being my son's wife.
That's what bullying is.
Amaris' series of excuses eventually led her to admit she had been bullying. This left me, Bright, and Neve beyond anger, just completely exasperated.
Alright, I get it. You need to leave the house right now.
Wait, please, you can't just tell me to leave all of a sudden.
You're the one at fault, Mom. We'll pack your things. From now, go find somewhere else to live.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Kicking me out is just too harsh.
You're apologizing to the wrong people. Shouldn't you be apologizing that to her, not me and Dad?
Confronted by Bright, Amaris turned to me and apologized. I'm sorry for everything. Please forgive me. My decision could significantly change Amaris' life considering how she had treated me. I felt a sense of satisfaction with the situation, but should I be the one to decide Amaris' fate? Feeling conflicted, I looked at Bright and Neve. Seeing their expressions, which seemed to say, do as you please, I made my decision. I cooked with my heart. You can repay the food, but you can't repay the sentiment. You also trampled on the feelings of those who were looking forward to it. I can't forgive someone like Amaris.
That settles it.
Hearing my words, Neve grabbed Amaris by the arm, dragged her to the door, and threw her out of the house.
Let us know when you have found a place. We'll send your things.
The decision and action were incredibly swift. Perhaps this is a trait of the festival men? In an instant, Amaris was cast out of the house, left alone. Her frantic panic and childlike excuses now made sense. Afterwards, Amaris really was forced to leave and move into a cheap apartment near where I used to live. I felt no guilt for the harsh treatment I had received. Neve is considering divorce. Even though she did terrible things, is divorce really something to consider? I thought so, but Neve hates anything illogical, so Amaris' actions this time were probably unforgivable to him. Amaris had crossed Neve's most crucial boundary. Since there was no time to redo the cooking, we decided it would have to wait for another occasion and opted to order takeout instead. When I went to the gathering and apologized, everyone forgave me with a smile. Bright talked about what happened with Amaris, and her bad reputation spread throughout the community, so it's unlikely she'll be able to return home anytime soon. In my opinion, Neve will probably divorce her. From now on, Bright and I have no intention of involving ourselves with Amaris and wish her to manage on her own. Bright and I will continue living in his parents' home, and our wedding fund is nearly reaching our goal. I am eagerly awaiting the moment I can step out of this de facto marriage and officially become Bright's wife.